Hey everyone, it's Ethan. Welcome to a brand new video. If you watched my last video, you already know what this is gonna be. And if you didn't, well, I played and reviewed a handful of indie horror games I found for Halloween. I initially planned to cover 5 games in total, but one game stood out to me quite a lot. That video was already getting pretty long, so that combined with my overwhelming love for this game, I decided to give it its own standalone video, and here it is. Today, we'll be talking about the absolutely fantastic indie horror game, Carbon Steel. Before we dive too deep into the review though, let me go ahead and say that if you enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel. It means a lot to me for your support and helps boost my content in the algorithm. If you want to help support the channel financially, you can check out my Patreon at patreon.com/Ethan. I got a few pretty cheap tiers where you can get access to things like my Discord server, behind the scenes content like scripts to these videos, and having your name appear or be shouted out at the end of videos like these. I don't make any money off of these videos, so your financial support really keeps this channel and its content running. It would mean a lot for you to go check it out, but if you can't, liking, commenting, and subscribing is more than enough. I also send out notifications when new videos release on my Discord, and it's a better way to be notified than through YouTube's notifications, and it only costs $1 a month. If you want to keep up with me on a more regular basis, you can follow me on Twitter at EthanTweets. I post updates on video progress, whatever I'm into at the moment, and some general shitposting. I also have a second channel, Ethan Squared, as well as my TikTok I made recently at Ethan_YT, where I post random short content that doesn't fit on the main channel. If any of those things interest you, they're all linked in the description, and let's get into the review. Carbon Steel is an atmospheric horror puzzle game that has you working in a research facility extracting the DNA of creatures pulled from the depths of the earth. The backstory, as stated on the game's itch.io page, goes as such. Looking to earn some quick cash, you sign up to work for a private research organization. 3 days of work for a year's worth of money. Upon arrival, you realize it's not exactly a walk in the park. Even in this underground haven of research where ethical guidelines do not exist, you've been assigned a task that no one else would dare attempt. Organisms would be raised from immeasurable depths. Their muffled screams would echo off the reinforced walls. The only thing standing between you and them is a steel vessel designed by long-dead engineers. There's a reason this laboratory was only used once. Its reopening would go against all moral principles. This description encapsulates the tone of the game, and the game's presentation and narrative deliver this atmosphere perfectly. I can't really talk about this game without spoiling anything, so if you're interested, please go give it a playthrough. The game is free, takes about 15 to 20 minutes to complete, and is linked in the description below. This is one of the best games I've played in a while, and I highly suggest you go play it before watching this video. And if you still really don't want to play it, I uploaded a 30-minute playthrough of me playing through Carbon Steel on my second channel, which will also be linked in the description. There's no commentary in it, so you'll get a mostly unadulterated experience of the game. Please go play it or watch my playthrough to experience the game the way it was meant to be experienced. And as for those who are still here, let's get into the story. The game starts with us standing in front of a small rusted structure, with whoever is inside asking us for our papers. Handing them over, the attendant hesitates before telling us we'll be boarding Shuttle 1 and the screen goes black. We then cut to us riding in a gondola lift, Shuttle 1, making its way down a thin tunnel. A man operates the vehicle as an opening in the wall reveals a catwalk leading to a section of the wall and a door labeled as number 52. We arrive at the catwalk and make our way out passing the driver, staring into the darkness ahead with no expression on his face. As we approach the door, the gondola departs and the camera above the door scans us. A loud buzzing is heard before we make our way into what seems to be some sort of decontamination chamber. No decontamination protocol occurs as another loud buzz opens the door in front of us to reveal what is to be our lab for the next 3 days. The lab is dark with rust plastered all over the equipment, while a man just into the darkness is loudly welding one of our tools together. We approach a computer directly in front of the entry door, which has an email ready for us to read. The email says as follows.
Greetings from the research team. You'll be carrying out the main sample pull from the pit, which hosts a multitude of pressure-treated organisms. After the pull is successfully completed, you will hand the data over to the team. As we discussed, this job will take a total of 3 days. We are still in the middle of setting up some of the equipment. Please enter your holding cell.
Once we get up from the computer, a buzz indicates the door to our holding cell is opened and we walk inside. The room is cramped with a small stained mattress taking up a majority of the space. We get a rusted over sink with a glassless mirror frame hanging above it, a filthy hole in the ground spattered with fecal matter and adorned with some contrastingly clean toilet paper as our toilet, all while a single light bulb buzzes incessantly overhead and a camera watches over the bed. This is our home for the next 3 days, and we make our way to sleep, preparing for the work ahead of us. We then begin a sequence with birds happily chirping as we stare into a pleasantly blue sky speckled with clouds. Before... we're awoken by a loud buzz and the same fluorescent hum filling our ears. We stand up, the door opens, and we make our way into our quote fixed lab. The lab was seemingly thrown together haphazardly for the experiment, as everything is still layered with rust and we see these archaic black and green screens on several pieces of the equipment. We take a quick walk through the equipment to gather our surroundings. In the center of the room is a large sliding device commanding us to place a canister inside of it, a device with a screen that reads anesthesia formulator connected to several large barrels, 2 screens paired with a lever labeled as the carrier vessel console, and 2 other machines that are seemingly being worked on. Those 2 will come into play later, but for now we head back to the computer to find another email waiting for us. It reads,
Good morning. We are ready to begin. Raise the lifeform vessel with the main control lever. It will automatically surface. You will find blank data cells in the canister rack along with empty anesthesia canisters. The lifeform must be unconscious for the duration of the data pull. Procure the correct mixture using the subclass weight data tables. Please begin. We are eager to get started.
After reading that, we then walk over and open the sliding door built into the wall to check out both the anesthesia canisters and data cells. From here, we walk to the carrier vessel console to begin our first pull. Holding down the lever, the 3 LEDs next to it come on one at a time, and after all 3 are on, we let go as the vessel begins its trek from deep within the earth. A low drone and the industrial sound of the rusted gears pulling up the vessel invade our ears as we wait for it to surface. Before long, the vessel appears with whatever is inside emanating these gurgling and sloshing sounds as it thumps its body around the carrier. Our research begins by reading the information given to us through the panels on the carrier vessel console or next to our computer. These give us its weight, origin depth, class, subclass, and threat level. From here, several floppy disks next to the computer contain the anesthesia data based on several classes. We grab the disk pertaining to our creature's class, put it in the computer, and navigate to the right subclass. This brings up a spreadsheet of anesthesia mixes based on weight for that class and subclass. We use the creature's weight to determine what mix of chemicals to use and head over to the anesthesia formulator. We grab a canister and place it in the machine and combine the right mix of anesthesia before taking it, placing it on the sliding device in front of the vessel and hitting start. The machine locks the canister in place, slides it up to the hole in the vessel, and inserts the canister into the vessel. We hear several quick beeps, the sound of a hydraulic pump assumingly atomizing the liquid before a loud beep is followed by a spray of gas inside the vessel. The creature begins to violently thrash around before falling silent and the canister being removed. We then place the canister back on the rack, grab a data cell, and place it on the sliding device. We hit start and a similar process happens before the data cells are moved, containing a bright red sphere emitting this distorted animalistic noise. The door opposite of our bedroom opens a small sliding hatch where we hand over the data cell to the researchers on the other side. Once we hand it over, the loud buzz from before signals us to return to our room for the night. We're woken in a sweat, our heart beating in our ears. Our door slides open, and as we walk out, we come face to face with something sinister. The carrier vessel is lifted, broken open by some sort of abomination. Flesh spills from the cracks of the vessel, speckled with eyes, darting around in every direction. Its massive body attempts to break further out of its confinement, and as we watch on in unbridled horror, we're awoken on the second day by the same buzz as yesterday, still reeling from whatever nightmare plagued us in our slumber. We stand up and make our way into the laboratory. Looking at the vessel tunnel, the carrier is in its normal position, lowered into the earth, ready for us to raise it up. We make our way to the computer, waiting with a new email for us that reads as follows.
Your work here yesterday was excellent. The data you pulled far exceeded our expectations, especially considering the fact that this laboratory hasn't been in use for decades. The engineer has finished setting up the old surface analyzer. You can use it to pinpoint exact data class measurements from otherwise unknown life forms. This will aid us in gathering even better data. If your work continues at this pace, then we have big plans for you.
We move over to the newly refurbished surface analyzer, consisting of 3 monitors connected to a panel of 2 levers and a knob labeled 1 through 4. A holster lies next to it, and with the lift of a lever, we grab the analyzer. As we grab it, an unmarked floppy disk pops out of the device. I assume it's instructions on how to use the device, so I place it alongside the rest of my floppy disks to look at later. We continue on as normal, raising the carrier vessel to the surface. This creature is pulled from a lower depth and has a higher threat level with an unknown class compared to yesterday. This is where the surface analyzer comes into play. We scan the creature through the hole in the vessel with the analyzer until all the LEDs in the device are on. We place the analyzer back in its holster and focus our attention onto the screens. On the screens, a region of the creature is displayed with a diamond showing us where the readable data is. We use the levers to move 2 lines on the screen until both lines intersect with the diamond. After doing this to all 4 layers, the analyzer determines the creature's class and subclass. After this, the experiment goes the same as yesterday's, with us determining the correct mix of anesthesia, knocking the creature unconscious, extracting the data, and handing it off to the researchers before heading back to our room. We're awoken on the 3rd and final day by the familiar buzz indicating to us that it's time for our final pull. We walk out of the room to the computer with another new email. It reads,
"Once again, the data you provided is excellent. Well done. We are now ready to begin the final pull. The vessel has been honed to far lower depths than earlier, meaning that this organism will be exceptionally violent. Use our newly equipped fabricator to repair the exterior of the carrier vessel, prevent it from breaking through. Tomorrow is a very big day. Get some rest once you're finished."
We make our way over to the newly repaired fabricator, a screen connected to a wall mount holding a large tool that looks like some sort of welding gun. We begin our final pull as we look over the data console. This pull is significantly lower, at 5,000 meters deep with a threat level of 5. As the vessel reaches the surface, we can hear the creature smashing against the walls of the vessel, attempting to break its way free. With our fleshing nightmare still fresh in our mind, we quickly begin the research. The experiment is similar to the previous days with the new introduction to the fabricator. A large screen above the carrier vessel console shows the integrity level of the vessel. As we do our research, the creature violently attempts to break free, and we use the fabricator to repair the vessel enough to finish our research. We go through the same motions of scanning the creature, determining its class and subclass, determining the mix of anesthesia, subduing the creature, and extracting its data. We head to our room after finishing and head to sleep for the final night. We wake up on the 4th day with an upbeat mood, knowing that yesterday was the final experiment, and today we depart from this archaic lab with our comfortable paycheck. We make our way into the lab and onto the computer, where one final email awaits us. We open it, and it reads as follows.
"We just finished reviewing the final data pull. Indeed, your work has proven to us that the risk is justified by the benefits. Excellent work. However, compared to ourselves, the life forms we have previously studied are significantly less advanced. We believe that a human body would yield far more interesting results. You will have the honor of being the first pressure-tested human. Please remain seated."
We finish reading the email when And that's it. That's how the game ends. You're knocked unconscious and placed inside the carrier vessel you've used to raise lower creatures in the past 3 days. The researchers hit you with an anesthesia before you're lowered into the depths of the earth, waiting to come face to face with the same creatures you've been analyzing. It's quite an ending to the game, but that's just the bad ending. That's not the only way things can end. Let's rewind a bit. Back on day 2, an unmarked floppy disk popped out of the newly refurbished surface analyzer. We didn't read it before, but popping it into our computer, we open it up to find a message that reads as follows.
Read carefully. The contents of this disk will be erased once ejected. We haven't met, but I'm the engineer. I overheard a conversation from the researchers. You're in trouble. I'm working on getting you out. I've taken one of the data cells. You'll find it tomorrow marked with an X. Give it to the researchers once you're done. I won't hang around for long. It's either tomorrow or never. See you soon.
This message takes us down a new path. Get through today and find the data cell with the X tomorrow. The second day experiment goes the same as does the third day, up until you go to extract the data. Opening the data cell rack, there's one with a clearly drawn X on one of them. As per the engineer's instructions, we grab that one and use it to extract the data. We take it over to the door and hand it off to the researchers, and I think I'll let this ending explain itself. And that, my friends, is the good ending to Carbon Steel. The engineer seemingly planted a bomb in that data cell as it went off inside the researcher's room. The explosion destroys the laboratory and knocks you out before waking up in the ruins. You limp your way out onto the catwalk where the engineer is waiting for you in the gondola. You board and the two of you take off, making your way through the darkness, uncertain of what's to come. This game is phenomenal. It's become one of my favorite games I've played in a long time. I loved a lot of the other games I played for my Halloween video, but something about Carbon Steel really struck a chord with me. Every aspect of this game is phenomenal, from the mechanics, to the plot, to the music, to the atmosphere, to all of it. Starting off with the mechanics, they're simple to understand, but manage to keep you on your feet. An example of this would be on the third day, where all the mechanics are laid out on the table for you to use. While each individually is very easy, the way they stack on top of each other to create this full process manages to manifest the stress as you run around the room trying to find its class and mix the anesthesia, all while maintaining the vessel's integrity. The mechanics might be simple and short, but they don't leave me wanting more. They also don't stick around longer than they need to. If the game were extended to 6 or 7 days, I could see how this might get repetitive. The game is concise and doesn't overstay its welcome. You come in, experience the plot, and it's done. It's a quick but formulated experience that left me feeling very satisfied. I think my favorite aspect of this game is the atmosphere. Everything about this world creates this wonderful and terrifying image in your mind of this reality. Even from the start, we get hints at the wider scope of what we're about to witness. The starting area, which is the rusted gondola station, tells us a lot about the environment we'll be playing in and the attitude of the organization from the second we get into the game. The attendant's cold and straightforward shuffling of workers to their shuttles tells us that the organization is uncaring and very focused on pushing their research forward. His hesitation before informing us of our shuttle number shows a crack in this professionalism and foreshadows that there's something more sinister about whatever research we'll be working on. As for the environment, the thick layers of rust covering everything and the familiar buzz of fluorescent lights create this eerie and tense atmosphere, giving us the idea that this facility has been forgotten and creating this isolating air about our surroundings. The overgrowth of rust could also hint that this research isn't being overlooked by any official organization. No government would allow a research facility to become this decayed, so this shows that this research might be more intense and shadier than we expect. Everything in this game is slathered in rust, which really drives home this isolated feeling. Playing through this, the cramped and decaying interiors of the research facility made me feel like there wasn't anything beyond the walls. There obviously is, as the backstory and the organization show that there is a greater world beyond all this, but walking around the small laboratory and scanning over the ancient and withering machinery makes me feel like this was it. Nothing lied outside of the facility. I don't know how else to describe it, but this place really felt like somewhere outside of space and time. During the dream sequence between day 0 and day 1, the bright blue, cloud-speckled sky felt alien after being surrounded by the rusted facility for so long. The design of this world, with its rusted machinery and archaic displays, creates this isolating and nihilistic and somewhat liminal sensation that really drove my interest in this game. Calling back to when you first enter the lab, you enter through a decontamination chamber, but no decontamination process occurs. This lack of proper protocol and the decrepit nature of the lab really drives home the idea that this research is outside of the government's eye and that ethical procedure might be absent from our work here. We obviously find out about the lack of ethics through the bad ending, but it has been alluded to since the moment we started playing. There's a lot of environmental storytelling throughout the game, and I fucking love it. To add to the shockingly immersive atmosphere, the music in this game is top-notch. The title screen song, Carbon Steel, is this haunting drone synth track that perfectly encapsulates the feeling of isolation permeating throughout the game. The song that plays during the gondola sequence at the beginning, Shuttle 1, is this really nice intro track with these harsh, droning synths paired with this thumping drum beat and this chugging bass synth to reflect the feeling as you dive deeper into the facility as you make your way to Station 52. The sound design in Carbon Steel is also just fantastic. All the machinery makes these ancient, rusted sounds to really drive home just how long ago people were using these facilities. Hydraulic pumps barely manage to function, rusted chains drag the vessel to the surface, the whining of our old CRT computer permeates throughout the entire laboratory, the constant hum of old fluorescent lights hanging above. The sound design throughout the game is phenomenal. I haven't even mentioned the creatures. We have no clue on what these things look like, but the gurgling and sloshing from inside the vessel as the creature pounds against the inside lets your mind wander to imagine what horrible sight might lie behind the relatively thin rusted walls of the vessel. During the Day 3 experiment, the creature beating its appendages against the wall is synced up with the music to create such an intense aura while you rush to sedate the beast inside. It's just amazing. Give it a listen real quick. God, I love that so much. And to top it all off, as you ride at the gondola with the engineer during the good ending, we get The Engineer, a remix of the title screen song with these somewhat breakchord-like drum beats that turn that isolating feeling you get from the original song into a somewhat hopeful one. I've delved into the plot enough, but it didn't really explain what I like about it. The idea of a world where this secret research organization is catching and analyzing these things found deep within the earth for some mysterious reason really intrigued me. We never get an explanation as to why they're doing this research, and that adds on to both the intrigue of the narrative as well as the isolation of the game. The organization is this faceless, emotionless entity that we never see, only further pushing us into that solitude that the game is filled with. The plot is intriguing, the atmosphere is gripping, the sound design and music is captivating, captivating. Everything about this game is so fucking enthralling that I'm finding it difficult to really put it into words how much I love this game. I saw Carbon Steel as I was digging through itch.io for games to review for my Halloween video, but I was not expecting to find such a gem hidden amongst the mass of cheap shovelware horror that pollutes the website. Not to say that all of it is like that, there's a lot of great games on the site, but it's a problem with indie games that it takes work to find truly fantastic experiences. Carbon Steel is one of the rare masterpieces amongst this sea of mediocrity, and I would feel eternal regret for not giving this game a 100% certified 10 out of 10. I adore this game, and I want to give my immense thanks to the game's creator Mike Klubnica for creating one of the best games I've played not only recently, but maybe ever. This game, as well as Mike's entire itch.io page, is linked in the description. Thank you all for watching my review of Carbon Steel. I could not imagine me not talking about this game. It really is just one of the best things I've played recently. If you enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel. I love making content like this. I like finding just these obscure things that don't really have a lot of attention that are really good, and I really just want to put it out there so people know about it. This game is one of them. Please go check out both the game and the creator and go support him in any way you can. He's done some fantastic work with this game, and I cannot thank him enough for what an experience he's given us. But that comes to the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed, and I will catch you all in the next video. Bye.